Today, I want to talk about what are our goals when we're trying to get sober, stay sober. We want two things in sobriety. We want to get sober, we want to abstain from drugs and alcohol or whatever our addiction is. But two, we want a nice emotional sobriety. So we want those two things. We don't want to just abstain from drugs and alcohol and then be miserable and we still have the party there. We also want a nice emotional sobriety. So we want those two things. We want to, number one, abstain from drugs and alcohol, and then number two, we want a nice emotional sobriety. And that's why we do things like the steps, keeping our side of the street clean, going over our resentments, 4 through 9, or 10 steps, or if we do dirty our side, we make amends. And the reason we do that is to keep our side of the street clean so that our emotional life and our emotional sobriety stay well, and then we keep a nice climate inside of ourselves. So we have a nice, because in sobriety, a lot of times people, they abstain from drugs and alcohol, but they're miserable. They have a lot of resentments. They have a lot of undealt with anger and hurts and issues and maybe even mental health stuff. And so we don't want that, right? We want to clean house, as they say, and we want to be happy. We want to be emotionally healthy, and we want a climate in ourselves that we don't want to escape from. And when we dirty our side and we haven't done the steps, we still have like a really toxic inner climate with a lot of anger and undealt with resentments and hurts and issues, and our side of the street's probably dirty, and you're just asking to have a climate inside yourself that anybody will want to escape from and need relief, like drugs or alcohol, to get away from it. And so that's why we do the steps, is to get relief. So and to get a nice, or to have a nice emotional sobriety. So again, not to beat a dead horse here or reiterate, but we want to abstain from drugs and alcohol, and then two, we want a nice emotional sobriety. And in sobriety, the last part is often forgotten, where people they're abstaining from drugs and alcohol, but they are miserable, unhappy, and they don't have a good emotional sobriety. So let's not forget that second part. All right, let's stay sober and let's have a nice emotional life and climate inside of ourselves that we don't want to escape from. Let's clean house. Let's do the steps, especially 4 through 9. Let's make our amends and clean up the wreckage of our past, and then in the future try to live in such a way that we can admire and respect, keep our side of the street clean, try to be happy, productive people with healthy self-esteem, so that we have not just abstain from drugs and alcohol, but we're also happy, and we also have a nice emotional life inside of ourselves. And so remember, when you're trying to get sober and stay sober, we want those two things: abstain from drugs and alcohol, and don't forget, we also want a nice emotional sobriety. So anyway, I hope that helped you in some way. I'll see you next time.